friends, and welcome to a Saturday vlog here on Hila at home. So my day started off with some tennis. I played tennis with the kids in the morning, and then later on I went to a farmer's market. Now we're lucky enough to have a farmer's market which runs one Saturday every month, and so I made sure to go and pick up some honey. And amongst all of the local bakers and makers, we also had a local plants woman who was selling these absolutely gorgeous summer plants. So I had a bit of a lovely stroll around whilst my children were away doing their Saturday morning activities. And I took the opportunity to just do a little bit of me time. I always go to this particular farmer's market because there is a beekeeper who makes the most delicious honey, which is also high in pollen, that I use to help with my symptoms of hay fever. So ever since spring, I've been taking a teaspoon of this local honey, and it's helped to keep my hay fever in control. And so I always like to go there as well as to support the local farmers. This month, I've really been working on hydration and making sure that I hydrate myself properly. Because one of the first things I've noticed is that in the mornings, I'm not very good at keeping hydrated. So I'm making a note to follow my alarm clock that I've set for every 2 hours to drink a glass of water, which is what I've been doing. And before I went up to have a shower and get ready properly for the day, I decided that I had to do the laundry. Now, there's been a bit of a change in my life circumstance at the moment. I've somehow found myself in a full-time job, and I'll talk about that in another video. So laundry has been delegated to Saturday when I'm actually not working. And as a result, guys, it has piled up. Look at all this laundry that needs to be put away, because generally I prefer to keep laundry in the clean folded format rather than the mountain of dirty laundry. The next thing to tackle was the kitchen. What a mess everything was. Since we basically woke up and headed out straight to the tennis courts that are nearby our local park, we came back, breakfasted, took the kids to their activities, and on the way back I stopped at the farmer's market. So I just need to put the stuff away and clear up, but first I had to have my shower, have a change of clothes, and put on my fabulous apron. When I'm wearing my apron, I feel unstoppable. So just as I'm cleaning up and tidying up and putting things away, I just wanted to briefly have a chat about finding new rhythms. So in all my 12 to 14 years that I've been at home raising the children, I have found that rhythm has really helped me to keep a really good, clean level house. And now that I'm back to work, I'm finding that I have to readjust the rhythms that I have been using for over a decade, and that has been quite an adjustment, friends. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm happily, joyfully going on the journey of discovering new rhythms. One of the new rhythms has actually been delegating more stuff to my children. I'm lucky enough that my children are older now and they are quite teachable, and they are quite competent in quite a lot of the householding tasks, as that was something that I really did try to instill in them from a young age. And so I have been giving them a little bit more responsibility, and that has been helping. It's been tough. I think that they are more capable than I give them credit for, but I suppose as mothers, we tend to go through that process at some point where we have to realize that, wow, they actually are more capable than I give them credit for. Since rhythm and reflection are the cornerstone and the backbone of what my routine has been for the last decade, I've been trying to implement a lot more reflection as well, especially since I am spending between 6 to 7 hours outside of the home, and that's been something that's completely foreign to me. Though I'm absolutely loving what I am doing outside of the home, I still do miss that complete 100% dedication that I had towards being a homemaker. However, I do know that what I'm doing now is what I have been called to do, and I'll be talking about that in later videos. Initially, I was worried that by putting time outside of the home, that the house was just going to be a catastrophic mess. But I'm very happy to report that in the 5 weeks that I have been working more or less full time now, the house hasn't actually gotten catastrophically messy. And I've been reflecting as to why that is. And I've realized that it comes down to the systems that were in place. Because over the last decade or so, I've been cultivating a rhythm that has got systems that are put in place, a system for doing the laundry, for instance, whereby a load a day keeps Mount Washmore away. And I have to credit Fly Lady for teaching me a lot of these things. Ever since I discovered Fly Lady, probably I'd say close to 20 years ago. Gosh, how time flies. I have learned so many wonderful systems that have meant that the adjustment that I thought was going to be massive when I started working wasn't quite as massive. I also wanted to quickly share one of my recent purchases. I have this probiotic from BioGaia, and it's the L. reuteri bacteria which you use to make a fermented milk drink. So I believe that technically it's not called yogurt because it doesn't have the exact bacterial strain that counts as yogurt, but these are the tablet sizes, and later on I'll be showing you how I do my homemade yogurt. It's very simple, it's very easy, and this particular strain, L. reuteri, has got so many wonderful benefits. The other thing that I'm quite excited about is I've got some top oil for my wooden counters. It's just one of those things that I've been meaning to get done for ages now, and I read up about this Premier top oil, and it is supposed to be the business. So I'm really looking forward to getting those done on the weekend. Just as I finish cleaning up the kitchen area there, I'll continue chatting about the rhythms and the systems in place that help to support those rhythms. So I think one of the other really good rhythms that I learned from Fly Lady is about keeping your countertops shiny as well as your sink shiny. And that's something that I've really taken to heart, and it's quite easy to implement. But in order to have a shiny sink, I always have to make sure that I've unloaded my dishwasher, which is a standard part of my morning routine. So through Fly Lady, I learned how to have a morning routine and an evening routine. And those routines, they really make sure that the kitchen has been reset, ready for the next day, and that the kitchen has been reset at the end of each mealtime, which I find to be incredibly helpful. And I like having clear surfaces. No matter how messy everything is, as long as I have some clear surfaces, I don't feel as stressed out, if that makes sense. And of course, I always love to add some flowers. We're in June here in England, and the garden is glorious, absolutely glorious. And though I've been trying to get out into the garden as much as I can, sometimes when I get back from work, I am absolutely too tired, and all I can do is just sit and enjoy the garden. And speaking of enjoying, my children just got back from their activities just in time for me to start making some yogurt. I think one of the things that really surprised me about making yogurt at home was how easy it actually really is. So sometimes I'll make it with the natural yogurt that you buy from shops, and you just add that as your seed culture. But as I said, my favorite one is this El Reuteri yogurt, and so I use cream, double cream, to make it with a mixture of milk, of straightforward full fat milk. And then I also use some inulin powder, which is what will feed the probiotic. And that's my lovely little Lakeland yogurt maker over there. The first step is to crush the probiotic tablets into a fine powder. And I found that the easiest thing to do is to do it in the pestle and mortar. Now, it goes without saying that everything that I'm using for the yogurt making has been sterilized by just running it over some boiling water. And I think that's just a key thing, because when you're fermenting the milk, when you're culturing the milk, you're culturing it at a temperature that a lot of bacteria absolutely love to grow. So once it's been made into the powder, we are going to be mixing it in with some inulin. So inulin is a prebiotic, and that's the stuff that the probiotics will feed on. I've used 5 tablets for this particular batch that I'm making, because I am only making just under 750 milliliters of yogurt. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put in the milk. So it's the milk to cream ratio is 1:1. You can boil the milk if you want to, but I've found that I can just use it straight, and all it means is that the yogurt isn't as thick. If you take the extra step of boiling, it does get thick. Now I bought this lovely 1 liter tub of fresh cream, and it had formed a thick layer of clotted cream, and it just went splat when I was trying to pour it out. And it was the funniest thing. My kids were on the other side of this recording, making toast, making snacks for themselves, and they just could not get over how funny that looked. And so there was a lot of giggles going on there. Moral of the story being that I should have been making sure that it was pointing right down before I squeezed it. Needless to say, I don't think my children will ever let me live this down. Once I'd finished cleaning it up, I carried on. So I mixed the milk with the cream together, and then I will take probably about 1/4 cup of the milk and cream mixture, and I will add the powdered probiotics to it, as well as the inulin, and I will mix it together until it forms a slurry, which will then get added to the milk and cream mixture, and then I'll pop that into my yogurt maker. And as I said, this process is so simple. It takes me 36 hours to culture an El Ruteri yogurt drink, and probably about 24 hours to do natural yogurt if I'm using the yogurt maker. You can also use the instant pot, but I prefer to use the yogurt maker because it takes up a lot less counter space than the instant pot does. So the other prebiotic that you can use is called potato starch, and apparently that also works quite well. I haven't used that myself yet. However, I'll probably stick to inulin because it's something that I can also use as part of a keto lifestyle. So as you can see there, I'm just mixing it in. It usually works better with a little whisk before I will add it. I like to have the yogurt with blueberries, so I'll freeze blueberries and then I'll just get them out of the freezer, pop them into a microwave just to get them to defrost a bit, because I can't deal with frozen blueberries because of sensitive teeth. But I think that's one of the joys of actually making things for yourself. And by the way, if you're interested in learning more about culturing your own food or fermenting your own food, I really recommend this book called Super Gut by Dr. Ken Williams, and it is wonderful. It's where I learned a lot about which bacterial strains to use, etc. And so there it goes, as simple as that, into the yogurt maker, and I will set it so that it is at 36 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit to Americans. I do apologize for that, but I'll put it in the description box down below, and then I will let it go. Normally it would be 36 hours in winter, but because it's really quite hot at the moment, I have left it at 32 hours because it's already innately warm and it will culture much faster. And then it was time to go out into the garden. Because I'm working now, I can only really go into the garden on a weekend, and there was a lot of stuff going on in the garden, friends. We have had an unseasonably warm spring, so a lot of the flowers are in full show well before what time they normally would be in full show. And I'm absolutely loving these poppies. These are self-seeding and they seem to have come from somewhere because I certainly didn't plant them. The irony of it is that the poppies that I've tried to plant, you know, those pretty ones that make a lovely meadow, they've never worked for me, and yet I have these ones that I've never planted before myself. Oh, the joys of gardening. But everything just is coming along so beautifully. Some of my clematis have bloomed. This one is a clematis supernova, and it is such a pretty and vibrant color. We're only in June, and the raspberries are already coming in. By this point, my girls had picked a few that had already begun to ripen. I planted that looping plant out about a month ago and it's doing quite well. The alliums are beginning to make seed pods, which are also very pretty to look at even once they've lost the color. All the fruit trees are burgeoning, branches are beginning to bend down with the weight of the fruit, and my favorite rose bush has grown even bigger this year, and it has a lot more of these raspberry swirl petals, and I love this one so much. I will get back from work feeling absolutely tired, and I'll just grab an outdoor chair, sit in front of that, and just gaze at it. And obviously right now this section, it's got a lot going on because of the scaffolding, but there's still some prettiness to see. The white one is the iceberg climbing, the iceberg rumbling rose, which has got some white flowers. And rose is so early in June. Oh my days, I'm absolutely loving it. I am looking forward to when the scaffolding is gone and I can properly set out my rose garden. Something else that has been surprising me is this yucca plant, which has sent out 2 flower spikes, and that's because I've been killing off all the suckers at the base of the plant, and that's allowed it to spend its energy into flowering. And I think that's something to think about and apply to real life. What can I be pruning that will allow me to flourish and flower? Where am I expending energy unnecessarily? The other big project that my husband has been tackling is rehousing the bamboo. Our bamboo has been so happy in its new location that we moved it to 4 years ago. It was beginning to take over. So we've dug it out and we've placed it into tubs. And so we're just going to be lining it up against the wall. This rose, Zephyrin Druhin, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it, and I think I'm going to have to dig it out eventually because it's not performing as well as it should do. However, this Clematis jackmanii, I think is what it's called, is coming along beautifully. It got the memo to climb up that trellis and it is going strong. The dogwood make the most prettiest white flowers, which I'm just so in love with, as well as this clematis. This one is a Nelly Moser, so it's a really good standard solid reliable clematis. Beautiful bunches of flowers, they make me so happy. And we got some labor to come and help us out in the garden, and so the girls were over there by the pond. And I have this potted rose here called the Guylaine de Feligonde, which is a beautiful classic rose. And the girls were helping me with weeding the section by the pond on the east-facing side of the garden. One of the things about a dramatic change in your free time hours that you have available to pursue whatever interests you have is that you tend to then have to think a lot more about the most efficient way to use the time that you do get, that you can expend on your interests and hobbies. And for me, that's meant that I've really been analyzing what is it that I need to do that is going to replenish my soul, that is going to replenish my spirit, that's going to make me feel the most revitalized and energized. And I have to say that out of all of the things that I am interested in, and there's a lot of stuff that I love to do, I have a lot of hobbies and interests, gardening for me is the most restorative spiritually as well as for my soul, because there are a lot of really sound life principles that you can learn from gardening. Patience being one of the most important ones, because when you're a gardener, you don't plant a garden to get instant gratification. Your vision may take years to come to fruition, if at all it does. And this leads to one of the second things that I think you learn from gardening, is that if the vision doesn't come through, you still have to be optimistic that you will start something afresh and that it will work out. And so the gardening has been something that I try to reach for more, especially as I try to find a way to center myself and ground myself and turn my head off from being at work. And later on, after we'd done with the garden, the girls and I went to a Marks and Spencer's archive, which just basically takes you through the history of the beginning of Marks and Spencer's. That big international chain actually started in Leeds as a penny market. So the archive is located at the University of Leeds. And it was a really lovely hour that I spent with the girls, going around looking at some of the older vintage fashion. And lovelies, there was a dress up section, and I don't know when was the last time I played dress up. They actually had grown up dresses as well, and I love this 1940s style dress, and I thought to myself, I must make myself one. And I think no matter what age you are, let's be playing dress up. And then later on that evening, the whole family, we had a cinema trip to watch a movie for the first time in the theater in 4 or 5 years, I think. And we all went to watch Mission Impossible, the latest Mission Impossible. Yes, we are huge Mission Impossible fans. We went to watch it, and I must say, afterwards, I did think that it was a good hour and a half too long, and there were a couple of times that I actually found myself falling asleep. Oh, yes, oh, the shame, the horror of it. And then we came back home, got the fire going. It's summer, it's really hot, it's a lot more fun to just cook outside. And we made some smash burgers. My husband's latest acquisition has been a grill plate that we picked up from Pro Cook. And let me tell you, this is a game changer when it comes to outdoor barbecuing. It is great for just about everything, especially smash burgers, which are a huge favorite in our home. And the trick with a good smash burger is you need to get your high fat beef mince, and that is just chef's kiss delicious. So that was our Saturday, lovelies. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. It was a really pretty full on day, and I look forward to seeing you next time in my next vlog, which might be a Friday and Saturday vlog. Until then, I wish you blue skies, health and happiness. Bye.